In 1966, that ad for wool said, "Wear the mark of wool." 1966. Seemed to be a banner year. We're jumping all over the place. According to Buckner's book on witchcraft, who's one of the most professional witches in the United States, they said that a plus in a circle was the mark of the beast according to the witches. This ad says dummy. They have a plus and a circle on the forehead. The plus in the circle is on this expensive car. It says the first used cars not forsaken by their maker. Someone understands symbolism in high places. We have a watch ad. It's called Zodiac. Do you see the symbol at the top? It's a plus and a circle. If you analyze it very carefully, you'll notice his arm is tattooed with a plus and a circle. Spell the first two letters of tattoo, and what have you learned from Hebrew? Ta means a mark. In Hebrew, now you understand where the word tattoo came from. Zodiac. This particular watch was good for 660 feet below sea level. But I'm probably stretching it. That's not one of them. Back to how many ads appear where there are impressions on the forehead. I have hundreds of them. This was from Physics Today. That's not for your local high school dropout. Another ad. It says pre-program the original computer. Where's the slot at on the woman's head? And just who are they reprogramming? Pull the little one out and show the larger ones. This next ad was from National Geographic, 1968. It says, "Take me along." That's the fourth word, sometimes used behind you, need you, want you, get. They will tell you to take it or take me. And it says, "Take me along." She has it. Give me the first two letters of take. First word on the says, "Want your husband to take you along on his next business trip." Drop a subtle hint. Genesis 3, but the serpent was more subtle. Now we call it subliminal. Where are they programming you to buy it? If we had time, we'd show you another 200 or 300 ads. Words on the forehead. Revelation 17 and 18. This ad is from Woman's Day, May 1966. Now I'd like to tell you a story. Many years ago when I was researching and understood what they believed, I said if I can go through enough 1966 ads in June, somebody's going to be wearing it right there. This ad ran in June also. As a matter of fact, I found it in June before I found it in the May issue. 6 of 66, the little girl is wearing the label exactly where. Now tell me what Hebrew word you can find in Chiquita bananas. It's probably just a coincidence. So for this tennis racket, it's called head. Where is the dot? If you look closely in the fine print, they use the terminology 660 centimeters, but it's not exact. This is the address for another business at 666 Fifth Avenue. It was the India Airlines, and even in the shaded picture, you do know what they wear on their forehead in India. Can you see it? 666 Fifth Avenue, New York. The gals in the advertisements had the dot right smack in the middle of the forehead. They're no longer located there. Here's the ad I referred to earlier. 3 9s. I have a question for you. It's especially if you're a college graduate. Are the people in Antarctica standing upside down? Answer me. Can anyone tell me? Are they? From our perspective, they are. So where would you go to the Dewey Decimal System at your local library and find a book on Antarctica? Is that Antarctica? That means it's the equal but the opposite. It's an anti-Arctic, right? It's anti. You find that at 999 at your local library, but they're standing upside down. You do understand. Let's turn them right side up from 999. Here we have every party needs an imp. Here's Pan, who was the god of reproduction. He dwelt in the darkest forest. Go to the local library, get a book on mythology. Read up on Pan. Is anyone familiar with Pan? That's the Greek word all. You could find him in the darkest forest. That's the only place you could find Pan in Greek mythology. He was associated with reproduction of the animals and the flocks. We're talking fertility worship. And so Pan would chase little girls and boys for sexual molestation. His appearance is the original etymology and origin of the word panic. That's the fear it produced. I wonder about these words on the forehead. I noticed this magazine not too long ago. I thought I'd just purchase a copy of Atlantic Monthly. It's just a couple months old. You do see the words on the forehead. And I think they're trying to say maybe he wasn't really special. She has a mark on the forehead because she's programmed to purchase it. I don't want to tell all I know about this or they'll dispatch the big boys. But it is an MK Ultra symbol programming thousands of gals in the United States, because any occultist knows that an inverted pyramid is a sexual symbol of a woman. The right side symbol is, of course, a sexual symbol of a man, and if you combine them together, you would have what? A hexagram, when they call that the Star of David, the Mogan David. And of course, Washington, D.C. is based on this diamond-shaped figure, because it's between what two states? The seat of the government in Washington, D.C. is located between what two states? Between the Virgin Mary. Virginia and Maryland. I mean, Virgin Mary cult. I mean, the ancient goddess cult. I mean, never mind. Let's go to the next one. I love this ad. They warned you it's good housekeeping. It's 1973. They were introducing the bar graft on the certain supplies that you buy from your grocery store. I guess you already know. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with the code? Does anyone know about the code on every can at home?
I do, but talk about it.
We have, if you'll look, the first half of this code has one number system. The second half has another number system. But if we use this 6, 2 lines the same size are 6 in this code. This half of it. Now, all these numbers change constantly because we're changing manufacturers' dates, products, prices, and so forth. But we have 3 lines that never change. The first one, the middle one, and the last one. Let's see the first one, Chris. They never change. But according to this, that's a 6. All these numbers change, but the first one, the middle one, and the last one, so how many 6s would that be? Now, if you can read Newspeak Subliminal Language, look what they said in 1973. Let's read the ad at the top. It says, this is the beginning of the end, because no man could buy or sell save he that had the number. 1973. So you don't think they have plans for your future? Does your pastor really know what's going on? Check out with a red laser, 660 nanometers is where you find the red laser, and it's associated with 6 centimeters. Nope. We'll take a break here, and we'll pick up in just a few minutes. An introduction to a variety of uses of the number 666 as they've been used for the last couple decades in advertising. Number 666, and then we're going to open it wide open to questions for the remainder. If you've learned anything, look carefully at how many sixes we have. Did I teach you anything about eye techniques? If you have knowledge of Scripture, can you pun the word B-E-L-L to B-A-A-L, which is the basis of underground secret society cults even to this day? Haven't checked it out yet, but friends at the San Diego convention told me I better get down to Bell Pacific and look at their address in L.A. But you'll notice the eyes. Back to that code word, we said Monticello. I showed you 2 very, very explicit accounts associating the number with the word. We had a small fact about a carpet company that just happened to have 3 6s in their phone number. I don't say that is unequivocal proof, but it was interesting. So now I'm going to ask you, we have this little word cell, you know, like they lock you in a cell. And so in 1984 they had this idea. This is a major news magazine from 1984, and they said we're going to create a network of towers, and we're going to create a phone system where anyone can have a telephone in their car. What did they call this system? Cellular telephone. At the bottom is your documentation of what the magazine is, at the very bottom, and the date. It says time. By the way, you had it for a moment. Time, May 7th, 1984. I'm giving you documentation. Anyone could check out the local library. Here we're introduced with an article on cellular phone system. It said the FCC had allotted certain channels for this new phone system. Give me a wild guess. How many channels did the FCC allot for this wonderful cellular telephone? How did you figure that out? Or is there a method to their madness? Is it based on a belief system? Not my belief system, not yours, theirs. This is someone else's research. If you maybe you've read her book, but I blew it up. I thought it was quite interesting because it's Defense Management Journal, the first quarter 1980, as the Reagan administration is changing hands. Other deeper symbolism, but we'll let it go for the moment. Found this in a computer magazine, and it's talking about the product being tattooed on you. It's called your product brand. And in this particular one, it says that they ended up finding God with the tattoo. So some of the programming we noticed was on the forehead, so Time Life ran this book if you wanted to research Nazi history. But notice where the words are on these particular well-known figures. Again, when I told you that the sun worship was the basis of all occult belief, and I told you something about a red dot and a red circle, so how nice that tithe cost this much. And where do they hold these rituals? It took me 10 years to figure it out. It was all in that word Monticello. Monticello. This is Purgatory. It's a ski lodge not too far from Route 666 in Colorado. We're dealing with opposites because it's hot and cold, and it's purgatories where you go skiing. If I told you the name of all the skiing runs there, they have such funny names for the runs and Greek words and demon words. And of course, once I figured it out, that the rich and powerful weren't going out into the woods to be discovered when that high day shows up at the winter solstice. They had to be going according to the ritual, which they always go to the highest place in the area, Don't forget that term, the top of the sixes at the restaurant. And they go to an underground room, so I said they have to be having a room set aside in ski lodges. And of course, the James Bond movie, which deals with mind control, the arch villain, whose name was a pun for Rothschild, Blofeld, in one movie was changing his name to Blowshield, trying to say he was a British aristocrat, and there was mind control involved, but they were at a ski lodge in Switzerland, like Witch in Switzerland, where the headquarters for witchcraft is in the world because it's the highest mountains. So I said, I need to write a few ski lodges and show interest. Maybe I'm coming to ski. I wrote Killington in the east. I wrote Purgatory, and I said, where's that number? And I started scouring over it, and it says, well, you know, you got Route 60. I said, well, I must have made a mistake because it's not here. And I started to throw it away till I saw the address of where you write them at, and it's Post Office Box 666. Are we getting redundant or boring here? We seem to have a pattern. Post Office Box 666, Durango, Colorado. It's probably a coincidence, or else it would have to be a conspiracy. From all this, I could have told you early when I first walked in, but what if I offended you and you left before you learned what you needed to learn? If I told you there were 200 detention centers in the United States, maybe you wouldn't believe me. I told a black brother last night on the parking lot, he had a college education, he worked in a reformatory for young guys. I knew they didn't know, but I said, do you know about the detention centers, the concentration camps set up? Almost put him into shock. You see, not in our day, not here. Of course, I have videotape of them from the inside. A lawyer in Texas filed suit against the United States 15 years ago, you know about this, for having the first 13. Of course, that particular lawyer is missing off the face of the earth. He fled the country, perhaps. Well, there are varied stories. He's not currently active, we know that. 13 detention centers were listed in the United States. You may doubt what I'm telling you. I have the cover of Look magazine, which is in red, says Concentration Camps in America, 1967, on the cover of the magazine. The first 13, we typed up a report. I spread it to all the people I knew. No one would speak to me in 1980 when I gave them this suit filed about the 13 original detention centers in the United States. Now patriots have been in places taking photographs. A network has shown that many of the military bases deactivated by the president have been reactivated with no one there, with barbed wire, new beds, guards, etc., and so on. So I'm going to show you a little interesting fact. This is from a book, Prisoners of War, printed by Tom Life, available at the local library. If you need further documentation, see me later. I thought it was a little interesting coincidence because for those of you who are students of history, you may know we had detention centers in the United States for the Germans. So in this particular little graph and picture, over here it's saying we had so many and so many, but by 1945, guess how many they say they had in the United States? Are they trying to tell you something? Don't you understand that everything is done and planned ahead of time? It is by design. It is very exact. A lot of patriots are not worried. A lot of patriots are discussing constitutional issues. I do not want to argue with you. I support you. I believe in you. But let's notice, in this is the cover. I have the original. It's not blown up real well. Here we have the Negro gal. She's out here. She has her flag. This is the Center for Constitutional Rights. This is from the fall 1992 docket. But we'd like to show you their headquarters in New York because when we go to the bottom, it says 666 Broadway. You see you have constitutional rights. Or do you understand the game? Or do you understand the mockery? That as long as you believe you're free and as long as you believe you're not in danger, are you going to be very observant or are you going to party?